How's it going, everybody? This is Pete the Bush. Today I'm going to give you some of my opinions on how to invest in a 401k. Now, generally when you're at a workplace, they don't really tell you how to invest in a 401k. They only tell you the list of funds that are available, and then you're on your own to choose which funds to invest in. You'll likely hear that you're supposed to contact your financial advisor to see which funds that you should actually invest in. I remember a long time ago when I got my first job and my first 401k, I did not have a financial advisor back then. And I'm sure most people who started their first job, they actually don't have a financial advisor. Generally in a 401k, there's a lot of different kinds of funds that you can choose from. So let's look at some of those types. Inside your 401k, you generally have maybe 10 to 20 funds that you can pick from. And then you're left with selecting how many percent goes into each type of fund. Generally, they have these things called a target date fund, which is a date at which you plan to retire. Generally, these dates, the closer it is to the current date, the more conservative it is. If you pick a date that is really far out, maybe like 30 or 40 years from today, such as this 2050 fund, then it's going to be a lot more aggressive in terms of stock. Most of the percentage inside this fund is going to be stock based. You pick a target fund date of 2030, it's going to have more heavily loaded in bonds instead. This is mainly for as you get closer to your target retirement date, you want less fluctuations because there's not going to be as much time to recover. If you plan to retire early, you might have to set this date a little bit closer because if you set it really far out, you might be too aggressive for what you're trying to do. You might find yourself not having enough time to recover from a market downturn. All of these dates is really just trying to weather a market downturn so that you can actually survive if something like that happens. The farther out you are, the more heavily invested in stocks that you can be and still be okay because you have a lot of time for the stock market to recover. Then it goes on to have all these other kinds of funds like small cap, medium cap in terms of market cap of the company. So this large cap fund is going to have a lot of companies that are that has a large market cap. Then you have like international bonds. You also have capital preservation funds, which really tries to hold your money so that you don't lose any value. And then some 401k, but not all, and it's kind of rare these days to actually have an S&P index for you to invest in inside a 401k. Now, you heard me talk about the expense ratio, and when you go in your 401k plan, they don't make it very easy for you to find out the expense ratio. But if you do, go and look at each one. It's likely going to be about 0.8, even all the way up to 1.5 or something like that. It's pretty high, but then there's nothing you can do about it if you're going to contribute to a 401k, especially if you get a matching. You're going to put in whatever that amount is, and then you're going to get the matching, which is essentially like 100% gain. Then you're going to have to invest in one of these funds. Of course, the expense ratio is going to be high. So then later on, if you ever change jobs, then you should really take this money out and put it in an IRA instead so that you can invest in things with a lower fee. The expense ratio is not too good, so you could also try to look for the lower expense ratio funds within your 401k plan. Now, where do you want to invest in this? I mean, there's a lot of choices, and you basically have like empty spots here and you're left to fill out, oh, how many percent do you want of this? How many percent you want of that? It's kind of like, well, it's up to you, right? Maybe you feel like, oh, international stocks is something good to invest in. So let's say you put 100% in there. Is that the way to do it? It's actually really up to you. But let me talk about the whole premise with investing in general, because you are essentially investing in something and you're hoping that the future value of these funds will be greater than it is today. Generally, that has held true for a really, really long time. However, my personal thinking is that the future is sort of unprecedented. Now, let me tell you how you're supposed to invest in this, which is to just keep on putting money in and don't look at it. Oftentimes for people who invest in their 401k, they may look at it once in a while, and then when there's a market downturn, maybe they go and really look at it all the time and see that the value keeps on going down. So before you even start all this, you have to realize that the companies in the United States is worth a certain intrinsic value. Yes, during a market downturn, sometimes the value might be really, really low and below its intrinsic value. Certainly, the value will never really go to zero because it's always worth something. And the whole idea with this is that you're dollar cost averaging into these funds and you're investing consistently over a long period of time without selling it at any one given moment. So what you're actually doing if you invest in long term, you're really betting on the innovation of companies to be able to produce more for the same given unit of work. This is really done through technology and the companies being more and more productive. They're able to make more and more goods. So that's the idea, and if you believe in that, you really have to believe in that if you're going to invest in this long term, because if you don't, then whenever the market goes down, you're going to doubt yourself and then you might sell, which a lot of investors actually do when the market is really bad. So hey, you might ask me, where am I investing all my 401k? Well, I am putting it mainly in capital preservation, which is not in this list over here. And this stance of capital preservation is kind of unique to myself because I am planning on retiring pretty early. And that's just the way it is for me, because if the market ever has a downturn, I don't have the time frame to wait for the market to recover, because my target date of retirement time is edging up closer and closer. I won't actually say how many more years or whatnot because I actually don't know. But I am, somewhat close based on my income levels and my savings rates. So I hope this gives you some clarity on actually what to do in your 401k and how to allocate each one. So these days I have two separate channels. This one over here is the finance channel. I also have a do-it-yourself channel. I'll leave a link over here. It just has a lot of do-it-yourself videos, reviews of electronic gadgets, cooking, car repair, and things like that. The stuff that I used to put on this channel, but this one has kind of morphed into more finance only stuff. Don't forget to give me a like on this video, comment down below, let me know how you've been allocating your 401k assets. If you're interested in supporting this channel, check out my Audible link down in the video description below. I also have a Gamefly link down there, Patreon over here, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.